Distracted driving continues to be a major factor in motor vehicle crashes. Despite efforts in law enforcement and education, the numbers are steadily growing in Fairfax County. Fairfax County Police Department held a specialized distracted driving training session for our officers. The goal was to increase officer awareness on the dangers of distracted driving and underscore the importance of enforcement in this area.
My name's Patty Kraszewski, and on the night of July 29th, 2012, my youngest daughter became a statistic, the victim of a distracted driver. As she was biking home from her job at a restaurant, she was hit by a driver who admitted in court that he never saw her, even though witnesses testified that she was well lit and easily visible because he was looking at his phone instead of at the road. But my daughter was so much more than a statistic. She had a beautiful mind and spirit to match her physical beauty. She had that kind of personality that people describe as sparkling. You've heard of people who lit up a room? Lainey did. She glowed with life. She didn't walk into a room, she bounced.
Part of fixing the problem is just acknowledging the problem and realizing that it is a problem. There's a disconnect between people, what people do behind the wheel and what they know they should be doing behind the wheel. So if we can just get the word out, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here today, of the dangers, then hopefully we can fix the problem.
So what he had us do is just, if you would please, just take your hand, make a fist, and hold it out at arm's length. The amount from your visual spectrum, just hold up in front, kind of in front of your face. That is what your brain processes 4 of those at a time. So what it's doing in the meantime is your eyes are constantly scanning. So that's just to give you an example. So 4 of those is all you can see at any It's all you can see at any one time. You're constantly scanning, you're constantly switching between tasks, and that's part of the psychology.
From a police standpoint, I consider distracted driving to be anything that takes your hand off the wheel, your eyes off the road, or your mind off what you're doing. That can be putting on makeup, that can be eating a sandwich or a bowl of soup, reading the newspaper, or texting. The legal parameters are much more specific when it comes to the texting law. It's very specific what you can and can't do with a phone behind the wheel. Sometimes, though, it rises to a level of reckless driving. If the driving behavior becomes to the extent where it's going to endanger life, limb, or property, it becomes reckless driving. One of the advantages of having a facility like this that we can go out and drive in a safe environment, we're by no means promoting distracted driving. That's not what we're doing. We're not teaching officers how to drive distracted. It's just good to put a visual. The exercise we did earlier today involved, first of all, just getting stopping distance and averaging the officer's abilities to stop the vehicle at 3 speeds, 30, 40, and 50 miles per hour. Then the second exercise, we artificially introduced 3 seconds of reaction time. So we saw the officers, their hands are on the wheel, their eyes are on the road, but the command to stop was delayed by 3 seconds. And all that does is simulate had they had their eyes off the road for 3 seconds. And then the visual, what we learn from that is, and the officers see, is just how far a vehicle travels had you taken your eyes off the road for 3 seconds.
I can't even begin to describe the devastating impact that losing Lainey has had on me and her sisters. I've gone overnight from being an optimistic, energetic person who got out of bed looking forward to each day to someone who lives in a state of constant dread.
Last September, I went down to Richmond for a distracted driving summit, and that's where I met Patty. And it was a group of police officers, and she came over to our table and talked to us on a personal level. And her story, I'm sure you heard it, but her story involves her 24-year-old daughter, Lainey, she was riding a bicycle and got hit by a driver. There was a bunch of problems, but it had to do with alcohol, texting, phone use, distracted driving. She was willing, after meeting her in September, I contacted her about what I'm trying to do up here to bring a personal message back, and she was willing to come up and help us out with that. Awareness is part of the problem. We don't have awareness. People think that they can drive, because they do it successfully every day, they think they can drive around and text. I'm glad we have Patty here today to kind of help with the message with the officers. And it's difficult dealing with your peers. Me being a police officer, talking to other police officers, it's easy to dismiss things because if you've never been in a wreck, it's easy to just think, oh, I'll never be in a wreck. And by doing this kind of training, it is an eye-opener.
But even with the new law against texting while driving, I can't count on seeing these drivers pulled over and ticketed. The disturbing truth is that there are an awful lot of drivers out there who feel entitled to sit down in their cars like they sit down in their living rooms. They expect comfort, entertainment, and their social contacts at their fingertips, and they know enforcement's a challenge. The man who killed my daughter, a man by the name of Webb, had a long record of driving violations, and witnesses said he was speeding and driving aggressively that night. But the reason he didn't see Laney is that he was supposedly texting a friend a happy birthday message. Hard to escape the irony that Webb's overwhelming need to send a birthday text message at that moment while steering a 2-ton vehicle caused my daughter's death day. Laney will have no more birthdays, and I'm living with a life sentence. Webb might be in jail, but there are way too many Webbs still out there. People who care more about their social lives and convenience than about the safety of others on the roads. People willing to take the life and tremendous potential of someone like Laney into their hands so that they can enjoy that instant gratification of communicating with their friends.
Unfortunately, as police officers, we deal with a lot of stuff that most people don't. Death, crime, and I think we become desensitized to it to the extent that it doesn't affect us quite as much as maybe it should. A lot of times when police officers are investigating crashes, fatal crashes, in the back of their mind, they're still doing a job. What I enjoy about why I like having Patty here is no one's connected with her case, and we can sit down as police officers and talk to her as a person and personalize the issue. And I hope, and I do believe that that's going to help motivate officers and help them do a better job. So there are a lot of entities that want to put like catchphrases and buzzwords, you know, it can wait, don't do it, you know, don't phone down, no phone zone, all that kind of stuff. It's just not worth it. Just don't do it. Put your phone away, let it buzz, let it sit in your pocket and buzz. There's nothing worth killing somebody. There's no message, no text message or email that's worth killing somebody over.